Hey now, what's up everybody? Zach here, and today we're talking more Pyre. This is going to be the spoiler episode slash extended thoughts, so if you want to check out the spoiler-free video, I'll leave a link in the description. And you have been warned, so we're going to start in 3, 2, 1. Okay, Pyre. I like the game. I stand by my 8 rating out of 10, but I have to be 100% honest. There were things I wanted to talk about in that video, but I couldn't because there were a lot of spoilers, and I didn't want to ruin it. And the biggest thing that irked me, even though there's this big cast of characters that you can use in the game, I didn't find all of them to be useful. Throughout the journey, I think you get 8 or 9 characters, and by the time you get the 9th, you're more than halfway done the game. You're actually closer to 3/4, if not more. So by the time I got that last character, and it's Bertrude, I mean, surprise, surprise, I didn't care for her. I couldn't give a crap. And throughout Pyre, as you're going and you're trying to get all of your teammates to freedom, which I ended up only losing one match because of the Titan Stars, and I'll get into that later. But I didn't care for Bertrude, and if I'm going to go back and replay this game, I know without a doubt, I don't care what I'm trying to accomplish. I will always be able to not send her to freedom, because I just don't care. The game... Her reasons for joining my party were essentially because Sandalwood told her to. That was all. She had no motivation to leave the downside. She had none of that, or at least none that I could really see. And she was set up really well in the downside. Like she owns a shop and fixes your cart so that you can go on the sea. She is doing very well for herself in the downside. So I never saw any motivation to really get her out. I just kind of left her there. I cared more for the other characters, and I would rather go back and see what would happen. I cared more for the opponents. I want to go back and see what happens if I let them win some of the main rights and escape the downside. I want to see what happens then. I couldn't care less about Bertrude. So that kind of irked me that I didn't get that character early on. Because when I first met her, I thought she was going to end up in my party. But once we left the area where you find her, I thought, okay, well, maybe not. Maybe she's just a side character. Lo and behold, I was right. But I think it was too little too late on that character. Another thing that I found towards the end of the game, I had a surefire strategy for the most part where I could win and almost any other team couldn't do anything to me. And granted, that's my fault. I could have upped the difficulty or done different things, but for the most part, I was using 8 or 9 of the 12 Titan Stars, which put a bunch of buffs against you and give them to your opponents to make it harder, and I didn't really struggle. I was using Pamitha and Tizo, and then any other character in the middle that I was just trying to liberate. I kept Pamitha and Tizo until the very end and ended up choosing Tizo because he's just so adorable. I could not say no to that little face. But I found that for the most part, you can't stop them because they fly. And Pamitha, I loved her and I thought she was a great character, but the balancing on her was, I don't feel it was good. I think there are other characters that really could have done with a little bit of tweaking. Jodie was one of them. I thought she was way too slow. And granted, yes, I think if you do a couple of tweaks to her, she can really, or at least put a couple of talismans on her, she can really be a great defensive asset and use her in that manner. But I just found her as a burden. I was only ever able to liberate her once I found the Tizo and Pamitha strategy, and then it was real easy. But likewise, on the other side of the spectrum, Pamitha was really easy to use because once I got her, I think it was called the Scribe Trials, and you get her special talisman, if she flies into the Pyre, she doesn't disappear and be banished like everyone else. She instantly comes back, and she does extra damage on top of that. So I found it very easy to always go back and select a right where there's a bunch of obstacles, fly over the obstacles because no one else could, and then soar straight into the Pyre, and then I'd come right back and then pass the orb right back to Pamitha and repeat. So most of my rights towards the end really only lasted about a minute at most, and that's fine. I mentioned it in the video, I'm not a great reader, so towards the end, I really was just thinking, okay, I want to get through this. I want to see where my characters go. I want to see how this ends. I just want to keep going. So it didn't really bug me too much. But again, I think the game could have done with a little more balancing. And then the Titan Stars. I didn't mention them in the video, and looking back on it, I probably should have mentioned that as well as the other difficulty settings. But what's done is done, and I'm not going to go back and fix it. That's way too much effort, and I'm just way too lazy to do it. So I'll just talk about it here. I really liked the Titan Stars, and I liked that they can give you the EXP boost. But again, with my strategy, towards the end, I already had T-Zone Pamitha at level 5, and I had them at level 5 relatively early. Almost as soon as I got Pamitha, I used her basically in every right. Same with T-Zo. Once I got him, he was in every right that I could. So, those were good. I think if everyone is out, I think if anyone out there is going and trying to switch up your teams, yeah, those are good. They're fun. They're a good challenge, and they'll give you some extra experience. I just didn't get to reap the benefits of the extra experience. More or less just the extra challenge, which is fine. I noticed when I was just scrolling through some of the achievements just to see what the game thinks I should be able to accomplish, that one of them was using all 12 of the Titan Stars. That's what it is, Titan Stars. All 12 of the Titan Stars. Wow, that was pretty bad, but that's okay. I'm not editing this. This is all just rambling off the cuff. I have a bunch of notes jotted down. I'm just going to try to touch on as many as possible. But the Titan Stars. I used all 12, and that was the only loss I had in the game. And I only lost by 1. It was down to 15 versus 15 HP, and I just happened to get banished, and all of my characters had basically no hope at that point, so it took them 12 seconds to come back, and it was just done. But I did go back and eventually try it again on a slower team, and my faster Pamitha and my faster T-Zo that could fly could not be stopped. Also, Pamitha's final perk that you can get increases her speed permanently by 8, so that on top of doing a couple of the vocations where you increase the quickness stat, I think her quickness was up to 20, which is already one of the fastest compared to other opponents, and then she can fly, and then she can do extra damage, and then she can immediately come back after dousing the Pyre. Great for me, but again, slight balancing issue there. So I did give the game an 8 out of 10, and I really want to talk about some of the things I liked now that I've gotten some of the gripes out of the way. I thought the game was beautiful, and the visuals were absolutely gorgeous. The soundtrack is phenomenal. I was with my fiance the other night, and I actually put my headphones on her when I was making my video and said, hey, which song do you think would be best for these videos? And she couldn't actually pick out a bad song. She enjoyed all of the songs that I had put on as an option, and didn't even know they were part of the soundtrack. She just thought they were standalone titles. And I thought that was really cool that she never even experienced the game, but can really enjoy the music that way. And I think that they did a great job with the soundtrack and syncing everything up with the emotions and the themes that were trying to be conveyed in each scene, just as I said in the other review video. But those songs with the lyrics are so freaking cheesy, I can't stand it. I can't listen to them. I'll be at work and I'll listen to the soundtrack as I'm going by, and I think I said it in the other video, I'm an accountant, so I just kind of drown out background noise and pop on my headphones so no one bugs me. And I'll listen to this, it's easy to listen to, but when those songs come on with the lyrics, I just have to skip them. And I'm sorry, they're very well composed, and I have all the respects for those musicians, but man, I just can't deal with those cheesy lyrics. It was really hard for me when I got to that first final right, and I heard the lyrics come on. I immediately said, oh no, and I shook my head at it. I could not believe it was happening in the final part like that. I was just dumbfounded. It fit the theme. I mean, the lyrics worked, but it was way too campy for me. The voice acting. I love the voice acting, and I want to stress that I wish there was more, because that is my biggest gripe of the game. I wish there was more, and I think it really would have helped it a lot. The voice acting in that made-up language is great, but Sandalwood has lines. And as soon as I heard Sandalwood have a couple of lines here and there, that immediately sealed the opinion that yes, this would have worked if they had fully voice acted all of my characters, and even the opposing characters. That would have been perfect. The people who, I guess all of them, they all voice acted wonderfully, but the person who voice acted Sandalwood and performed those 1 or 2 lines that are just done in English, I thought they were great. The announcer was phenomenal, and I mentioned that, but I didn't want to mention the Sandalwood thing until this video because even while he's mentioned in the beginning of the game, it's not necessarily known that you're going to run into him and have him as your one of your playable characters. So once I got to that point, I was immediately done, and that was basically the point where I stopped reading the Book of Rites. Granted, you're pretty far into the game at that point, so I didn't really need to continue to read the lore. I got the basic understanding of it anyway. And the Book of Rites, I think I was maybe 2 pages short of getting all of it. I got like 100, I got up to like page 160 and missed 2 in between. It's a lot of reading for what I found to get nothing out of it. I mean, I thought it was cool to learn about some of the scribes and some of the titans that have been banished by the scribes, but again, it would have been cool if they read to me, if the book or the announcer did. I'm not going to complain too much about that, but I will pile that on top of not having my character's voice acted. Having to read both things was hard for me. I don't read good. I don't has good brain when it come to read. But I math good, and I can live with that. So I wanted to try to convey that in the video. And that was really what brought it down for me, down to an 8. Had there been that voice acting, and it would have been as immersive as Sandalwood and the announcer, which I know it would have been, that would have been the game that set it over the top for me. So yeah, that was all I had. And by the way, the footage you're seeing in the background is Pyre. This is more of my later game footage. I probably should have mentioned in the beginning, but hope you're all enjoying me crushing it in the rights, because again, I think at this point I was just using the Pamitha Tizo strategy and no one could really stop me. So yeah, that's it for me, guys. And if you enjoyed the video, remember to rate, like, comment, subscribe, whatever you want to do. Share it with your friends. Whatever goes for you, fine with me. And have a great day, and I'll see y'all next time. Bye-bye.